For more information on our top stories and others, do visit our website, channelstv.com. YouTube.com/channelsweb has videos of all our shows. We have a couple of pictures and let's share them with you. We can begin with a video actually from HAKEEM ODUMOSU Street in LEKKI 1, where a school is about to be constructed. Our eyewitness says the siting of a school on that plot would adversely affect the building plan of the area, which is largely residential. He wants the Lagos State Ministry of Education as well as physical planning to intervene in the matter. And our final set of images come from Sangota of Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. The images show various parts of the road in a deplorable state. Our eyewitness is displeased by the neglect of the road, which he says has become a nightmare for users. He wants the state and federal government to resume work on the road. For all your pictures, thanks a lot. And do send us some more when you can. One of our recent eyewitness reports seems to have gotten the attention of the authorities. The story on the impact of illegal settlements on the Lekki coastal roads has prompted the Lagos State government to issue a 7-day eviction notice to the occupiers. The Lagos State Task Force went around the area, informing the squatters of the ultimatum by the Lagos State government. Our correspondent Chris Elems reports.
These are members of the Lagos State Task Force on a sunny Thursday afternoon. They are not here for combat, but to deliver a message from the state government to illegal occupiers of the coastal road along the axis.
Is there any permit for anybody? If anybody has approval from the government to build anything here, anybody from you? Akwai permit, akwai approval, paper, government. This is Lagos State Task Force Governor's Office. Removal order. You are to remove within 7 days. Sign, the governor. Thank you so much.
These squatters must vacate the area within 7 days or be forced out, a reality they are not prepared for.
With a big favor for you now, through this 1 week, I beg. Can you adjust small debt for us for that 7 days?
Most of our people here, they are IDPs. And you know, for Lagos State, we don't have a particular camp for IDP for Lagos State. So we are here as a temporary.
The environmental degradation that has since been the case, owing to growing dump sites, blocked water channels, poor health and living conditions, are also causes for concern to other residents and the state government, which is why this order has been given.
After the expiration of that 7 days, I'll be here. You know, I came here, I didn't molest anybody. I didn't abuse anybody. I didn't touch anybody. Nobody molested me. Nobody abused me. We are brothers. Are you getting my point? So you help me extend this information to everybody from the beginning to the other side and the other side.
With the eviction notice served and resettlement by the state government not in view, the squatters must figure out what next and how to get a roof over their head. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Let's cross over to Abuja now, and here's Makwe Ogun Yusuf. Makwe?
Hello, Ijoma. It's good to see you. We're starting off with this story. Stigma is a big barrier to all the efforts by the government and donor partners to achieve 90% testing, 90% treatment, and 90% viral suppression for HIV and AIDS in Nigeria by the year 2020. That's according to the Network of People Living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria, NEPHWAN. NEPHWAN's national coordinator says the progress that has already been made could be reversed unless strong measures are put in place to combat stigma against people living with HIV and AIDS.
For 15 years, that is, between the year 1985, when the first HIV and AIDS case was reported in Nigeria, and the year 2000, when the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, was established, it appeared that Nigeria would never win the fight against the spread of the virus. But the story is gradually changing for the better, as more people are now willing to know their HIV status and be placed on treatment, with many more already achieving viral suppression.
The epidemic is shrinking. Today, we're looking at HIV epidemic that is less than half of what we started before, from 4.4% to 1.3% from our NIAS survey of last year.
However, the battle to eradicate the virus is not over yet. The UN AIDS 2019 data shows that an estimated 1.9 million people still live with the virus in Nigeria. The country recorded 130,000 new infections in 2018. Also, 53,000 AIDS-related deaths were recorded last year alone. Nigeria recorded an estimated 75,000 mother-to-child transmission of the virus in 2018, which represents about 30% of global statistics. At this gathering in Abuja, the network of people living with HIV and AIDS remember their late members. They insist that stigma remain a major barrier to access and treatment in Nigeria.
Want to create more awareness in the fight against stigma and discrimination. It is still a barrier to accessing antiretroviral therapy.
Even though we have the tools, we have the quality healthcare services to be provided to people living with HIV and AIDS, stigma and discrimination can be a big barrier, which we all need to fight. There's no medication for stigma and discrimination.
Of Nigeria's almost 2 million people living with HIV and AIDS, only 55% of the adult population are on treatment. Another 35% of the children population are also on antiretroviral drugs. Efforts to scale up testing and treatment made the government to launch the U=U campaign last month. The government is hoping that more people will come out for testing and treatment so that the HIV viral load on people can be suppressed and reduce its spread in the country.
For more on the move to end HIV and AIDS stigmatization in Nigeria, I'm being joined at the news at 10 by the Deputy Director, Health Sector Response at the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, Dr. Daniel Ndukwe. Thanks for coming on the news at 10.
Thank you. Good evening.
Well, you had the DG NACA there say that the epidemic is shrinking, but is it really shrinking with 1.9 million people still living with HIV and AIDS?
Yes, it's shrinking. There was a time we got to a peak epidemic, prevalence of 5.8%. So that will have 1.9% of 1.4% of Nigerians having HIV, which translates to 1.9 million people. If you recall, there was a time we had an estimated figure of about 3 million Nigerians living with the virus. So it's coming down.
It is coming down, but yes, we're still a leading country with mother-to-child transmission of the virus as we speak. We understand that about 30% of global population of mother-to-child transmission is what we have. What's responsible for this?
It's a big concern for NACA, in fact, for all the partners. But then what is responsible, one of the major things that is responsible is the fact that a lot of our women don't utilize the antenatal services. Because when they go there, that's when they are tested for HIV. And a number of them will rather go to traditional birth attendants. They don't do HIV tests for them. Because if you're able to detect it while the woman is pregnant, you're able to come with the medications and then you stop the transmission. So those are some of the challenges.
How are we working to combat that?
Well, a lot of trying to sensitize the women, make them understand the reason to attend antenatal services. And then the test is freely given to them when they attend antenatal care. So those are some of the want to encourage them to go and then get tested.
Okay, but stigma is still a major problem, and now they're saying that it's going to be a major impediment towards achieving the 1990 target for the year 2020.
Yeah, it has always been a problem, but then I think it's getting better now. If you listen to that report, you hear that a number of people are now willing to get tested. Before now, people don't want to get tested for HIV because they think when they become positive, it's like a death sentence. There are a number of people around the world, even in Nigeria, that will come openly and say, I'm living with HIV. And then we actually want to attack NEPHWAN because they've done a lot of good work and identify themselves coming openly to say, I'm living with the virus. Some of them have lived with the virus for 20 years. So it's encouraging people to come out and know that it's not really a death sentence. And then you don't really get people infected except you do unprotected sex or you share needles, you transmit blood or save blood. Otherwise, stigma indeed is a reflection of ignorance.
Well, are the barriers falling for Stigma?
Yeah, it's falling, but it's still a challenge.
Well, we hope that they continue to fall further. We have to thank you for coming on the news at 10 tonight. Dr. Daniel Ndukwe is the Deputy Director, Health Sector Response at the National Agency for the Control of AIDS.